Bonjour Rog fans, and today we're Rog ranting about why are computer games so vindictive. Now the Rog first noticed this, many moons ago, back in the early days of the old arcades. Not that early where you had up two bats and a ball, but further on from that, and further on from the Space Invaders. Now, further on from that, talking about the days of the legendary Street Fighter World Champion, World Warrior Edition and Championship Edition, where the Rog used to play those games quite a lot in the old arcade. And he noticed that when it became obvious they were cheating. And the Rog would look at it and think, no, surely it's just the Rog being crap because he's good at that. Rather than play against a human opponent, think, why is it I can do that against a human opponent, but I can't do it against a computer opponent? And then after watching somebody play, I actually realised the game actually cheated. The game would actually block a manoeuvre before the animation had even started. Well, that's just disgraceful. Why do they do that? Mortal Kombat 2 is a good example of that. The amount of times that a computer opponent will block before you've even started your animation. It's ridiculous. Why do they do that? I mean, I remember back in the old days, a game called Command and Conquer, the first version that came out, where you could be GDI or not. And I remember that the GDI had a medium tank, and it was a nice little yellow thing. It was a little turret, and then the Nod had a little light tank, which is a little horrible little bluey grey thing, and the light tank could be destroyed in about 2 or 3 shots from the medium tank. Well, as I progressed through the game, I remember, especially in the Covert Operations add-on pack as well, many situations where I'd have one medium tank destroyed by a light tank, and then 2 medium tanks destroyed by one light tank. How did the light tank suddenly become a heavy tank in the blink of an eye, but remain the same size? It's just cheating. Meanness cheating. It's ridiculous. I remember a game of Unreal Tournament, and there was a level where it was based around a big tree, and there was a pathway that went all round the top, and there was all leaves and branches in certain areas, and I was hiding at the bottom, underneath loads and loads of the ramp, underneath the ramp that goes round, covered by a tree, and I was shot in the head by somebody on the top level, a computer opponent, because the computer didn't see the floor and didn't see the trees. There was another game on the old PC. I think it was on console, called Spec Ops. You could be shot in the head from a quarter of a mile away in a forest. Why? Or hiding behind a bush, because the computer doesn't see bushes. Burnout 4, another classic example. The game just became malicious. The better you got at it, and you were getting on a nice winning streak, things would just literally just come out of nowhere to make you crash. And then computer cars have suddenly become practically indestructible for no reason. Why? Why do people do that? It's not fair. It's not just. It's psychological torture if you think about it. You don't play a game to be punished. You play a game because you want to be entertained. What's entertaining about not being allowed to win fairly? I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I remember Street Fighter 4. There was a boss character at the end called Seth, who did nothing but cheat. It was amazing what he could do that he couldn't do as a player. It was astonishing. What was it cheating for? And same with Super Street Fighter, the series. There was a character called T-Hawk who did this condor dive, and it was unblockable when the computer played T-Hawk. But you played as T-Hawk, and the computer could counter it every single time. But you tried in exactly the same thing with exactly the same character in exactly the same situation, and you couldn't do it because the computer wouldn't let you. Why do people write games to be vindictive? Why can't we just win? What's so wrong about that? It seems as though I'm not, I haven't got a tinfoil hat, but tinfoil hat territory would be to make the postulation easy. The fact that all the people who control our entertainment system are obsessed with making us suffer, because it seems really strange that it's very hard to find a game that's actually balanced and fair, and that the difficulty level is that the challenge gets more difficult, not the same enemy becomes 16 times more difficult to kill than it was at the beginning, or that the platform game suddenly you need to have pixel perfect accuracy to land on the pads. It's ridiculous. There's no need for it. Complexity and a challenge is what's difficulty. Not just making the AI cheat, which doesn't exist anyway, but making the computer cheat. That's just ridiculous. It's just, it's shocking, isn't it? Have anybody else noticed that computer games cheat? Can you think of 5 computer games that don't cheat, that actually allow you to win, where difficulty levels are more enemies? A bit like Serious Sam, that did that, didn't it? You get more enemies just piling, that was quite cool. Doom did that as well. Now, I remember that, Doom, very good game. Enemies didn't suddenly become nearly indestructible just because it was the hardest difficulty level. That didn't happen. It was beautifully paced. I think that might have been the last fair game that was released. Or was it? As usual, comments down below. Do you think computer games are vindictive? Do you think they are purposely designed to traumatise us by cheating? Do you think that that's a good thing to teach children? That in order to win, the best thing to do is to cheat, rather than just to be skilled? Until next time. And remember, it's not reality, it's YouTube.